San Antonio. My name is Daniel Garza, and you're watching World News Tonight. We're bringing a special broadcasting tonight covering the global refugee crisis. If you've been following the news over the past year, then you're familiar with the horrific events happening across the world. Individuals are being forced from their homes with no place to go. These people are not only known as refugees, but also could be displaced persons, IDPs, or asylum seekers. In this segment, we will cover the differences that media sources, local and international, have in their reporting towards this topic. The international sources I'll be using will be CNN and Fox News, which most of you should be familiar with. The global sources are from the UK, which they are called New Statesman and Express News. We will look at how these sources use cultural identity theory and the cultivation theory to describe the global refugee crisis. The number of refugees and internally displaced people in the world has reached an all-time high of 60 million people. First, let me tell you the difference between the identities I mentioned before. A displaced person is someone who is forced from their home as a result of conflict or insecurity. Internally displaced people are those who are forced from their homes but have not left their country. And lastly, refugees and asylum seekers are forced from their homes and their countries because their countries are too violent, too poor, and can't go home. So they end up fleeing abroad. While there have been displaced persons from different regions over the years, the current issue in Syria has brought the single largest source of refugees worldwide. 1/3 of the world's refugees come from escaping the Syrian war. While the majority of them do come from Syria, there are other issues around the world that are uprooting the individuals from their home as well. Some of the others include the Taliban and Afghanistan government, ethnic violence in South Sudan, where they are on the verge of genocide, and the Myanmarese government's systematic oppression toward the Rohingya Muslim minority. These displaced individuals are fleeing with little to no possessions on them. They are entering poor and middle income countries who are being forced to feed them. Refugees don't have money to enter the wealthy countries, so they go to the closest border city. With the growing number of refugees and displaced persons, the countries they are fleeing to are becoming too overwhelmed, and some even denying entry. 36 countries violated international law in 2016 by sending refugees back to the countries that were at risk. Now, let me ask you a couple questions, and these questions we will answer during this segment. How does CNN and Fox News differ in their broadcasting of the refugee issue? Do either of the news sources provide information that discredit the other? What type of identity do each of the news sources give the refugees? What type of response is CNN and Fox News trying to get from these viewers? Do the local news sources in the UK give much attention to the politics in the US, or do they only focus on their area? International media that we use to research global refugee crisis was CNN and Fox News, as said before. They both differ in the way that they present their news. CNN has been seen as a more liberal media outlet, while Fox News has been seen as extremely conservative. For the most part, CNN usually holds a non-biased side when reporting their stories. That has seemed to recently change when disputes between them and the Trump administration have been taking place. CNN has been a long-standing news resource to millions of people around the world. They have been seen to provide factual news without much dramatics added to it. Fox News, although it is one of the largest news corporations in the world, doesn't have the best reputation because they tend to air news stories with no reputable source behind it. Recently, Fox News has also helped push the conservative views of Donald Trump and the views of his administration. The local news sources from the UK are the New Statesman and the Express. New Statesman appears to be more liberal, while Express appears to be on the conservative side. The pictures and videos that appear in this video were downloaded from the news companies discussed throughout. They are used to emphasize the brutal situation that these people are currently experiencing. Many times people dehumanize what is happening across the world because they can't even begin to paint a picture in their mind of what is happening. We'll be using the cultural identity theory to show how the cultural identity of these individuals changes after they are forced into a dramatic change of life and experience a death told they do. The other theory we will look at is the cultivation theory. This theory shows how certain media companies use their power to prevent a negative image of these people. Using different articles and short clips from CNN, I looked at how they presented the refugee crisis through their media. CNN uses a lot of language that could be seen as negative toward the United States, specifically the Trump administration. It's no secret that Donald Trump and CNN do not have a good relationship. Trump has been quoted calling CNN trash news and fake news. He also references Fox News as being the best news provider. In one article, CNN discusses the 4.9 million people that are being hit by famine in South Sudan. South Sudan has years of civil war, which is what brought about this refugee crisis and the collapsing economy. CNN shows images of families who have exhausted every means they have to survive. They even compare the current situation in Sudan to the Rwanda genocide. You see the negative view CNN has toward the current administration in several different articles and videos. At the end of the articles discussing South Sudan, CNN calls on the U.S. government asking if they will bring aid to the starving people. In a separate video, CNN interviews several individuals who are affected by the travel ban set in place by the Trump administration. The travel ban was placed on 6 Arab nations. The individuals being interviewed talk about how the ban has tremendously affected their lives and the lives of their families. CNN even states that the current standing the Trump administration has is toxic political rhetoric and threatens human rights, and along with other world leaders holding the same standing, are dehumanizing entire groups of people. CNN has also seemed to show much more graphic images and language when discussing the reality of what is occurring. They are interviewed migrants from Turkey that were locked inside fences crying out, "We are not animals, we are humans." CNN stresses that these individuals do not want to stay in the countries they are migrating to. They are very empathetic with these displaced persons compared to Fox News and the negative images they give them. When looking at the different sources from them, almost all of their articles and videos were very negative and did not provide much factual evidence. Leading up to the elections, Fox News supported Trump and his ideas. They helped Trump paint the picture of ISIS and everyone involved as horrible people. Yes, the amount of terrorist attacks are at an all-time high. But for Trump to say that all Muslim and people from these 6 nations are involved in extremely racist and derogatory towards this entire group of people, Tucker Carlson, a Fox News reporter, interviewed Ami Hormuz on refugees in Sweden. He described their presence as bringing violence across the city. He says that the rise in rape and violence is proof of the refugee problem. Ami goes on to say that their presence will bring terrorism to their country. There is not one statistic given to back up any of the evidence he is stating. Carlson gasps and adds comments throughout the interview with a disgusted look on his face. This is very different than the image that CNN provides of the struggles these refugees face. Another topic that seems to be on the Fox News agenda is highlighting the errors they believe the Obama administration made. In one video of John Kerry's speech, they highlight on his statement defending Trump's decision and several individual testimonies saying that Obama was wrong. A separate video of Trump, Fox shows him as being very empathetic towards refugees, as he states, "I was moved to act by the photos of beautiful babies killed in the gas attack." He says this after he spent months to bar millions of refugees and their families from entering the U.S. Fox repeatedly tries to show that Trump is doing better than Obama did. Fox aired an interview with a Muslim man where he is shown wearing an American flag style scarf around his neck. This man makes comments like Mr. Trump did what Mr. Obama didn't. Even when asked how he feels about the ban on Muslims, he continues to defend Trump and his ban. Carlson even makes a comment at the end of the interview stating, "We wish the worst on that brutal dictator." The local news sources I looked at were media news companies in the UK called News Statesman and Express. Both of these media sources differ from CNN and Fox News in that they focus on specific events happening in their home front. They did not make a lot of mention about the Trump or Obama administration. When they did speak about the United States, they seemed to have a very negative view on Donald Trump, but also held Obama responsible for not following through with certain things. These local news sources spoke a lot about the rape and crime that is happening to these refugees. The articles and videos they aired seemed to be a type of cry for help for these refugees. They are more concerned with the people in their country than the politics of a country across the ocean. They both did not provide a lot of graphic images as CNN does. Looking at the media companies more in depth and analyzing the communication styles, I came to an understanding for each of them. A person's cultural identity is always changing. Before these individuals became refugees, they were individuals who played a part in their society. They had their own cultural identity that was formed through the upbringing and surroundings. The identity they once knew drastically changed when they were forced from their homes. They were forced into camps or living on the streets of a completely new culture. These adolescents are spending their youth starving and in camps, watching others die on a daily basis. Some are put into sex trafficking or raped and beaten daily. CNN shows their identity through graphic images and interviews with these individuals. Fox News gives the refugees a negative identity, showing them as rapists and criminals who would be detrimental if they let them into our country. The refugees will change their cultural identity towards this if others treat them as criminals. The cultivation theory is also used by Fox News. Fox News has an extremely large viewership. When they put the image of these refugees as rapists, thieves, murderers, their viewers will see the entire group of people in this way. The viewers will believe that what the news is telling them is real and valid. CNN and the local news companies in the UK counter this image by showing the struggle and innocence these people have. Yes, some of the refugees are rapists, thieves, and murderers, but not the entire people can be identified like this. The global refugee crisis is extremely real. Although the people within our country are not experiencing the harm and brutal treatment these refugees are, does not mean we cannot act. The political language is an extremely important tool that can be used to aid these individuals. More importantly, the language and images that these large media corporations share has a tremendous effect. When people of a certain country see the refugees as people who will harm their culture, the way Fox News portrays them, then of course they will push their government not to allow them into their country. But at the rate this is happening, we cannot allow this to turn into another Rwanda genocide. We cannot let another genocide happen in our lifetime. We need to act. I ask that you take this information with an open mind and keep this in mind next time you turn on the news to update yourself on the world's current events. Let me ask you this. Who will you turn into the next time you turn on your TV? Now, I thank you all for joining us tonight, and I hope this segment was informative to you, and I hope that you act in the next weeks to come.